Hello everyone, welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert K. Sakos is my name. Happy Women's Day to all the ladies out there, and more importantly, to all the ladies that do support or participate in sport, whether it's football, whether it's tennis, whether it's volleyball, whether it's basketball, name it. Whether it is just a team you support, whether it is a local team, whether it is an international team, happy Women's Day to all of you. You're one of the reasons as to why we do the things that we do. But anyway, I hope you had a wonderful week so far. So today we'll be speaking matters Manchester City and why I think Manchester City are still a title favorites, despite being just a point below Liverpool and one above Arsenal in what looks to be like a three-horse title race for the Premier League in the 2023-2024 Premier League season. Of course, a lot has been said about this title race, but here is why I think Manchester City or Pep Guardiola side are title favorites. For starters, it's the pedigree for me. They've won it for 3 consecutive times in the last 3 seasons, and that practically says it all. Whether they had to do it marginally with just a point or just 5 points, like they did last season when they snatched it away from the Gunners there, who had led that Premier League table for the most part of the season for over 200 days. They had been on top of that Premier League table, but it was Manchester City that still carried the day. So, in spite of it being a 3-title horse race, at the end of the day, it will be only one team that will lift that title. It will either be the red ribbons for Liverpool or the red ribbons for Arsenal, or once again the blue ribbons for Manchester City. And for the last 3 seasons, it's been blue ribbons for Pep Guardiola side. The other important key factor to note is out of 7 attempts, Pep Guardiola has won it 5 times. He did win it in his first season. Of course, that went to Chelsea when Antonio Conte won it. That is for the 2016-2017 Premier League season. And then Liverpool beat them to the title in the 2019-2020 Premier League season. That title that Liverpool fans never got the chance to celebrate because of COVID. But out of the other 5 attempts, Pep Guardiola has won it. Now, that clearly tells you not just the kind of manager he is, but how experienced he is at galvanizing his side when it comes to pushing for that title. And indeed, they have the experience, they have the squad, and this is the most important part of it all. They have the squad, the manpower to mount a title challenge against any other team in the Premier League. And as we speak, they have the best squad, at least in my opinion, in that Premier League, in this 3-horse race title chess. They have the better squad as compared to Liverpool and as compared to Arsenal. And if you were to ask who comes second, I would say Liverpool. Not because of that they have practically a better squad, but their experience. Liverpool also coming number 2 in terms of who can challenge this Manchester City, who are the favorites for me to win the Premier League title. When you look at their squad, first of all, they're not suffering many injuries, at least lately. And as we speak, heading into the weekend, when they'll be traveling to Anfield to play Liverpool, they only have 2 injuries as we speak. And that's an injury to Jack Grealish, and the other is Guarrdiola, the defender. So the rest of their tools are available. Brad Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, Phil Foden, Matthias Nunes, Jeremy Doku, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, John Stones, Rico Lewis, name it all. Manela Kanji, who by the way scored a goal in the UEFA Champions League. What a stunning goal that was off that corner. And he struck that ball first time and it hit the back of the net. You have a Julian Alvarez who is scoring the goals and making the assists. You have a Phil Foden who personally manhandled Manchester United last weekend when they beat them by 3-1. He scored a brace in that fixture, So, as we speak, he has 11 goals in the Premier League and 7 assists. That's an 18-goal involvement. When you look at Brad Erling Haaland, he's the top scorer of the league with 18 goals. Yes, Mohamed Salah does come second there with a tally of 15 goals. I think he's tied there with Oli Watkins as far as Premier League goals are concerned. So that's the kind of squad that this Manchester City have. The likes of Kyle Walker, very experienced player, the former Tottenham defender there, very experienced. Ederson Morales has been there for as long as I can remember, as far as Manchester City have been chasing titles. Because when Pep Guardiola did come to Manchester City, he signed his former Barcelona goalkeeper, Claudio Bravo, and things didn't work out. So he said he cut his losses and went for Ederson Morales, and he has ever since been the number one in that sport for his goalkeepers. So when you look at the players, the kind of squad they have, when you look at the manager, all the profile, when you put all together the cards on the table, that is what makes Manchester City the title favorites. And yet, we have yet to see the best of them this season. Manchester City, over the time, I've observed, at least for the last 2 seasons, they have this kind of thing they do, that where they have a more sort of quiet first half of the season, at least by their own measure, by their own standards. Because their standards are so high, every time they underperform or they're not scoring so many goals, they have a spell of 2 draws and maybe 1 loss. Everybody thinks, oh, they are starting to crumble, or it's all falling apart, and they won't win the title. And yet, when it comes to the second part of the season, they just rise up like a seedling out of soil. They just rise out of that ground and then begin smashing teams one after the other. They just smashed Manchester United last weekend by 3-1. Went in the Champions League and beat Copenhagen by 6-2 on aggregate over 2 legs. So, really, clearly, that tells you the kind of Manchester City that we are talking about. And that is why I think they are title favorites. That when push comes to shove, it is Manchester City that you bet your money on to come out rising, to come out on top, because they are the better side of the other 2 title chasing teams. Yes, Liverpool have sort of, there's a way they sort of slipped into this season. They came under the radar, like almost nobody was keeping an eye on them, and suddenly they just bypassed everyone and they're top of the table. They were winning games. Unfortunately for them, they were also conceding some goals. They've had to contend with so many injuries, many more injuries as you compare to Manchester City and perhaps Arsenal to a certain extent. But anyway, all teams have had their fair share of injuries. But I think Liverpool have had the worst of it. And yet somehow they've managed to stay top of the Premier League table. They've managed to stay winning. Last weekend, they had to secure a late winner thanks to Darwin Núñez to win that game against Luton Town by 1-0. That puts them just right there in the mix of the title. The experience of Jurgen Klopp, although he has only been able to get just once a better of Pep Guardiola when he went on to win that Premier League title in 2019-2020. But he is being the man challenging this Manchester City side. Twice, Manchester City have won the title with a point difference of just 1. One was, I think, when they won it with 98 points and Liverpool had 97. So clearly, Jurgen Klopp, who we all know will be stepping down at the end of the season. So, because he will be stepping down at the end of the season, this is his final push. It's the last one. And when you observe this Liverpool team, they are playing for the manager, whether it's the kids that he chips in for the injured players, whether it is the senior players that are available, they are playing for the manager. They want the perfect goodbye. They have already won the Carabao Cup when they beat Chelsea by 1-0, thanks to Virgil van Dijk in that final when they beat Chelsea. So, everything they do, they are doing it for the manager. Last night, they thumped Sparta Praha by 5 goals in the Europa League round of 16 knockout stages of the first leg. They were away from home. Alexis McAllister scores a penalty. Darwin Núñez with a burst in that one. Luis Diaz got himself on target, as well as Dominic Szoboszlai. Liverpool are getting their stars back. Mo Salah came on in that game, so he's recovered from injury just as much as Dominic Szoboszlai. According to reports, Alson Ramsey-Becker is back in training. He could be available to feature or to contest for this big weekend's game. Now, that's not to say that Callagher has performed any worse. He's actually been brilliant in that Liverpool goal, and somehow he got ahead of Adrian in that, who is now in the pecking order. But of course, Jurgen Klopp would want to compete with his number 1 goalkeeper in Alson Ramsey-Becker. But when you outlay all that Liverpool squad, even if they were all available and fit, the likes of Alexander Trent-Arnold, who are still injured, the likes of Thiago Alcantara, the likes of Curtis Jones, Diego Jota, Joe Matip, still, player for player, gun for gun, I do think Manchester City still have the better squad. The better squad, the better experience, and obviously the better manager. So that's what makes them title favorites. I do think if push comes to shove, if it goes down to the wire, it will be Manchester City that will carry the day. Let me know what you think, what your views are. Yes, of course, it's not to say that Arsenal are not in that title mix. Yes, they are in that conversation, as we will see in our subsequent engagements in the context of this weekend in particular, when Arsenal have to play Brentford while Liverpool play Manchester City at the Anfield. And just in the side mirrors, Tottenham will be up against Aston Villa. So all that action will be coming this weekend, but we will discuss that at a much later time. For now, it is Liverpool versus Manchester City on Super Sunday. And in the whole context of it, here is it. Let's actually look at that fixture or review it. When you look at the form table in terms of the last Premier League meetings or the last 5 Premier League games, Liverpool have won 4 of their last 5 games and lost 1. They lost game against Arsenal by 3-1, and in the 4 they've won, they beat up against Luton Town by 0-0. They beat up against Brentford by 4-1. They beat up against Burnley by similar score in some of those victories for the Reds. So clearly, things have been going well for them. On the other side, Manchester City have won 4 of their last 5 Premier League games and only drawn 1. The draw came against Chelsea. It was a 1-1 draw. They've beaten up against Brentford by 0-0. They beat up against Everton by 2-0. They did beat up against FC Bournemouth by 1-0. That was the other weekend before beating up against Manchester United by 3-1. So both teams are in stellar form. And now, here they come to face one another. What do the records say as far as when it comes to head-to-head? First of all, overall in the Premier League, they've met 53 times. Liverpool have won 21 of those. There have been 20 draws between these two sides. But as far as the last 5 meetings head-to-head go, this season, when they met at the Etihad Stadium, it ended in a 1-1 draw. And last season, when they met at the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City beat up against Liverpool by 4-1. But when they met at Anfield earlier on in the season, last season, Liverpool beat them by 1-0. That goal by Mohamed Salah. You remember Alison Ramsey-Becker floating that ball high over the top, and Salah went on to score that goal. When you look back a little further back, last season but one, I think that was the 2021-2022 Premier League season. They were involved in two all draws, both when they met each other, both at Anfield and at the Etihad Stadium. Both games ended in 2 all draws. So clearly, the competition between these two sides is always stiff. So out of the last 5 meetings, there have been 3 draws. That clearly tells you that when it comes to energy, they sort of go for it. They match each other. And the other 2 games ended in a victory for each, with Man City winning 1 by 4-0 and Liverpool winning the other by 1-0. Yes, the goals Manchester City's 4-1 victory may sound so huge. Yes, it was huge, but still, it was only 1 victory out of the last 5, which Liverpool equally have by 1-0. So, clearly, these 2 managers, one, they know each other very well. They've competed against each other, and Pep Guardiola did admit it by himself that over the last 7 years that he has been at Manchester City, Liverpool or Jurgen Klopp has been their number 1 competitors. They are the team that have pushed them every now and then, again and again, to be better, to be a better team, to sort of have to do the extraordinary so that they can win the title. And Manchester City did win a treble last season. Pep Guardiola said it would be very difficult to do that again, but he said it is not impossible. So they do have the tools to do it, and I do think they can go ahead and push for it. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, That's why I think Manchester City are still title favorites. Just imagine when Kevin De Bruyne fully clicks, when Bernardo Silva fully clicks, Phil Foden is already firing. Braut Haaland is already getting back into his form. Remember, he suffered an injury that kept him out for 2 months. But ever since his return, okay, he sort of felt hot and cold. He did score 5 against Luton Town. Sorry, yes, against Luton Town in the FA Cup. But he did struggle against Brentford. Sorry, against Bournemouth. He struggled in that game. Yes, he also struggled against Brentford. He missed a couple of chances in those games. Against Manchester United, he scored. Against Everton, he scored a brace. That won the game. In the Champions League, he scored over 2 legs. So that's the kind of player. Just imagine he clicks into the full Braut Haaland mode that we all know and is firing on all cylinders. Rodri in that midfield can be unstoppable. He also knows to come forward and bang those goals. We all know him for his stellar strikes that he normally scores. So when you look at the pieces of this Manchester City side, when you put the chips on board, on that chessboard, I do think that's why I think that Manchester City are title favorites. Anyway, let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me, and do share all that in the comment section. But as far as Super Sunday is concerned, at Anfield, yes, like I did say, both sides have just some injuries. The Man City have only 2 injuries. That's in Jack Grealish and Joshko Guarrdiola, while Liverpool have more injuries. Like I highlighted some of those. The likes of Ryan Gravenberch, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Thiago Alcantara, Joe Matip, Curtis Jones. Those are some of their injuries. The advantage for them is that they've been able to welcome back some of these injuries, some of these players back. Because in yesterday's game against Sparta Praha, it was Conor Bradley that scored an own goal in that game. So probably they would want to swap him. So they have Joe Gomez who is available, Virgil van Dijk is available, Ibrahim Konate is available. Like I did say, Alisson Ramsdale-Becker of course, it will be subject to late fitness tests, but could be available to face Manchester City. In that midfield, Alexis McAllister, Wataru Endo, Dominic Szoboszlai is back. So that forms the core of Liverpool's midfield to contest against a Manchester City side that may have a Bernardo Silva, a Rodri, a Kevin De Bruyne, a Phil Foden, whichever the case is. You get a Matthias Nunes. And then when you look at their forward line, like I did say, Mohamed Salah featured yesterday in that 5-1 victory against Sparta Praha. He came off the bench, so he is back in action. So he's available. That makes Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez, Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz all available for selection. Their team is there, of course, not a forward, but all these players are available for Jurgen Klopp to select from going into that Super Sunday clash. So it's not that Liverpool won't be without the best of their squad. Now, imagine a fully firing Liverpool and a fully firing Manchester City when they meet. Of course, the desired result for us, for the Arsenal fans who are in third place, will be that these two sides share the spoils, and it's a sort of a lose-lose situation. Both sides drop 2 points. But if either of them were to win the game, I'm not sure who Arsenal fans would want the winner to be, whether it's Manchester City or it's Liverpool. But if I were to get to take a wild guess, I think they would want Liverpool to actually win this to win this game, because Manchester City are the daredevil in terms of this title chase. But we won't leave it at that. As far as the title chase is concerned, let's look at we won't just leave it at that. As far as the title chase is concerned, let's look at their next 5 or 6 games that they will be playing. Now that we are saying Manchester City are favorites to win this Premier League title. First of all, Manchester City travel away to play Liverpool. Then their next game will be at home. That's after the international break to play Arsenal. In between then, that's next weekend, they will have an engagement in the FA Cup. I think they play Newcastle United, while Liverpool have Manchester City at the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. They do have Aston Villa. They do have Crystal Palace. That is away from home. They have Luton Town. The Arsenal game for Manchester City is at the Etihad Stadium. They have Luton Town and Tottenham Hotspurs away from home. Now, out of these 6 games, 2 of the big games, that's if I consider Liverpool, Arsenal, and Tottenham for this Manchester City side, 2 of those games are away from home. That's a disadvantage. But the Arsenal game will be at home, and the Aston Villa game will be at home. It's not to say that Manchester City do not have the capabilities of beating any of these sides, whether it's at home or away from home. But of course, Liverpool would be the tricky fixture. Last season, they beat Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium by 4-1. So, whereas Arsenal are in great form and all, they do know how to beat Arsenal. So, that's why I think Manchester City are title favorites. So, that's their next run of 6 fixtures going into the weekend. It's Liverpool, it's Arsenal, it's Aston Villa, it's Crystal Palace, it's Luton Town, it's Tottenham Hotspurs. And let's also look at that in comparison with Liverpool, who are top of the Premier League table. Because, like I said, I do think Liverpool are the biggest title challengers in Manchester City's way, who I think are favorites. So, in the next 6 fixtures for Liverpool are looking to play Manchester City, who they host at Anfield, so that's an advantage for them. Then they will play Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton and Hove Albion have not had the best of seasons this season, as far as the Premier League is concerned. And when you look at their results yesterday, that was yesterday in the Europa League, they did lose to Roma. I remember Paulo Dybala scoring in that game, Romelu Lukaku scoring in that game, Spinazzola scoring in that game. It was a 4-0 thumping for Brighton yesterday in the round of 16 first leg knockout stages for Daniel De Rossi's side against Roberto Di Zerbi. So that's in the Premier League, they've been hot and cold. They come and lose by 4-0 against Luton Town, and then the next weekend they're beating up against Bournemouth by 4-0. So they've had that up and down as far as the Premier League is concerned. So Brighton are one of the fixtures that Liverpool will play after Manchester City. Then in there they have Sheffield United. Sheffield United are just in shambles. Like manager Chris Wilder did say, Sheffield are a damaged team. So you don't expect them to trouble Liverpool. If you're a Liverpool and you're contesting for the title, Sheffield shouldn't trouble you whatsoever. Then Liverpool have Manchester United, Crystal Palace, as well as Fulham in their next one of 6 fixtures. So Man City, Brighton, Sheffield United, Manchester United, Crystal Palace, Fulham. Out of those games, away from Manchester City, which game is hard? I'm not saying they're easy. Yes, all Premier League games are hard. But if you're Liverpool and you're looking at your next 6 fixtures and you're saying which games are a must-win for us, clearly Sheffield is a team. Crystal Palace, Manchester United with their current form. Never mind that it's a derby, the oldest derby or rivalry in English football. Right now, as we speak, Liverpool are a much better team as compared to Manchester United. Go ahead and beat them. Go ahead and beat them. Of course, Manchester United would want to be the party spoilers for Liverpool in their title chase, but go ahead and beat them. Now, Fulham is a tricky game. The first leg ended, I think, 4-3. If I remember correctly, that was at Anfield. So this time they will be traveling to Craven Cottage. It's a bit of a tricky game, but still they can win that game. And then, like I always said, Brighton, hot and cold. So clearly, those are my views why I think Manchester City are the title favorites and why I think Liverpool are the next, that they will be the team that will challenge this Manchester City so heavily for that Premier League title. Do let me know what your thoughts are, whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me. Do not forget, just put all your thoughts in the comment section. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in our subsequent engagements. Otherwise, have a blessed weekend. And once again, happy Women's Day to you all. Stay blessed.